Hey, I'm Nancy Cavey. I'm a Social Security disability attorney, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Winning Isn't Easy. But before we get started, I have to give you a legal disclaimer. This podcast is not legal advice. The Florida Bar Association says I have to say this. Now that I've said it, nothing is going to prevent me from giving you an easy to understand overview of the Social Security disability claims process, the games that can be played during your Social Security disability claim process, and what you need to know to get the disability benefits you deserve. So off we go. Now, in last week's episode, we covered how the Social Security Administration first looks at insured status and medically determinable impairments before they even get to the question of whether or not you meet the 5-step sequential evaluation test. We also discussed step 3, the medical listings. Now, as I explained, most cases are decided at steps 4 and 5 of the 5-step sequential evaluation, and that's what we're going to focus on today. I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to talk about step 4, the past relevant work, and at step 5, I'm going to talk about the two ways to meet step 5, which is called the grid test or other work. Got it? Let's take a break for a moment before we get rolling into this episode.
For Social Security disability, or has your claim been denied already? Either way, you require a copy of your rights to Social Security disability benefits, which will cover everything you need to know about the Social Security disability claims process. Request your free copy of the book at caveylaw.com today.
Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. Let's talk about step 4, past relevant work. And I think the best way to explain this is to give you an example. And I'm going to use a theoretical applicant who happens to be a housekeeper. Now, let's assume for the basis of this discussion that she is 61 years old and she has worked as a housekeeper for the last 2 years and as a phone solicitor for the last 3 years. She has a high school education, but because of her medical conditions that she's claiming, she's limited to sedentary work because of her back, knee, and hip problems. So let me play devil's advocate with you. Is she entitled to her Social Security disability benefits? Well, the answer would be no, because she can still do her past work as a phone solicitor. So what happens here in this analysis is that the Social Security Administration is going to be looking at your work history for the 5 years prior to the adjudication or decision on your Social Security disability claim. Now, it used to be 15 years, but they changed it to 5 years. One of the reasons they changed it to 5 years is that work has changed so much in the last 15 or 20 years that a lot of jobs simply don't exist that existed in the past, or they aren't performed the way in which they're described in the Dictionary of Occupational Titles, which is a document, huge document that the Social Security Administration uses in evaluating a person's past work and whether they can do other work in the mythical, hypothetical, not real world national economy. As a result of the changes in the 15-year period to the 5-year period, I think that it's really important that you get how significant the work history report form is. I know it's a pain in the rear end to fill out the initial application for Social Security benefits, but one of the most important forms, in my view, is something called the work history form. And the work history form consists of about 14 pages. That's a lot of work to complete this. But what you put on this work history form, SSA 3369-BK, is really important. And I have done another video about this for my clients that we will be talking about later. But let me quickly go through this work history form. You can see that the first part of it asks for information about you. So they want to know your name, your Social Security number, your phone number, and then they want you to list the jobs that you've had in the 5 years before you became unable to work because of your medical condition, listing your most recent job forward, first rather, then kind of go backwards. And what they're basically asking you is what's the job title, what kind of business it was, and for what period of time you did the work. Now, section 2 of this work history form asks you to describe the specific information about job number 1. So if you've got 5 jobs, you will fill out section 2 for each of these jobs. And it asks you job title 1. What was your rate of pay? What were the hours that you worked days per week? Now, here's what becomes important. It asks, describe in detail the tasks you did in a typical workday, such as stocking shelves or greeting customers or scheduling appointments. If the task involved writing or completing reports, describe the type of reports that you did. If it involved supervising others, describe that. If it involved the use of machine tools or equipment, describe that. And if you had to do work with coworkers, supervisors, or the public, they want to know that. Now, what's important here, I think, is for you to think backwards. What do I mean by that? Think about the medical problems that you have that you think prevent you from working and doing your past work. Specifically, think about the problems that you have doing certain duties, because you want to make sure that you are describing the tasks that you did. So obviously, I think you should do this on a separate piece of paper. You want to talk about, did you write reports, yes or no? And if so, what kind of reports did you do? You want to talk about if you supervised people, and if so, the nature of that supervision. And I want you to think about how you're going to answer the question about tools and equipment, because the workplace is full of tools and equipment. What do I mean by that? You use a computer, right? You might use a iPad. You might use your phone. You might actually like use a cashier, be a cashier and use that. Think about the equipment that you used. You also might have used a dolly to lift things or other assistive devices in moving things. So really think about what your job duties are in terms of what you couldn't do. Make sure that you're writing that down, because you want to ultimately prove you can't do those duties. You want to talk about the equipment that you used and the supervision. Now, the next part of section 2, work history, talks about the activity, and it asks you to describe how much in a workday you stand and walk combined, sit, stoop, kneel, crouch, crawl, using your fingers to mouse or keyboard, using your hands to seize something and to grasp or pinch, reaching at the shoulder level, above the shoulder level, behind you, climbing stairs or ramps, scaffolding. So think about this. Again, think about what duties you have that you would have difficulty doing or having difficulty doing, and do this analysis on a separate piece of paper. Ultimately, the question also is going to be select the heaviest weight that you lifted, frequently lifted, and that's really important. We don't want to exaggerate. We want to be accurate about this, because what ultimately happens at a hearing, if we get that far, well, even not at a hearing, Social Security is going to look at this work history form and evaluate whether or not, based on what they think your restrictions and limitations are, what your doctor says about your restrictions, about whether you can do your past relevant work. And if you haven't described your job accurately, they're not going to be able to pick the right Dictionary of Occupational Titles code for that job, because they're going to look at that DOT job description and say, well, this is a sedentary job based on these restrictions and based on the way you described it in the work history form. We think you can do your past relevant work. So you need to understand that you've got to think backwards. Think about the symptoms that you have and the problems that would prevent you from doing those duties. Write them down. Think about the equipment that you used. Think about the activities, sitting, standing, walking, stooping, bending. Do not rush through this form, because this form can make or break your claim. Got it? All right. So I will tell you that a lot of claims denials come at step 4 because people don't know how to fill out these forms. In our office, we do spend a lot of time with our clients discussing how to fill out this work history form. We've got an actual letter to our clients that describe it, And we have a video because we want our clients to make sure that this form does not destroy their claim. Got it? Let's take a break.
With your Social Security disability case, the right attorney can make all the difference. Get our booklet, The Key to Hiring a Great Attorney for Your Social Security Disability Case. Discover how to find an experienced attorney who will fight for your rights and navigate the process with ease. Don't leave your future to chance. Request your free copy at caveylaw.com today and ensure you have the expert support you deserve.